In this video, I'll review and rate the best activities, food, and scenery of the Big Island of Hawaii. Not only that, I'll be giving personal, in-depth stories of my friends' adventures. Also giving tips and tricks on making sure that you can have an enjoyable trip to the Big Island when you go yourself. Welcome to Ken Adventure Review of the Big Island of Hawaii. Let's get to it. Activity. One of the greatest activities that I went to on the Big Island of Hawaii was going to sea snorkeling with the Ultimate Ocean Encounters midday snorkeling. It was really interesting going out to this shack. I went with my friends and we all got onto a boat and we all put on sunscreen and they told us how to be safe and they gave us some safety tips and we just went out to the open ocean. Now, this is where it gets crazy. While we're out there, it's just so beautiful seeing all the blue waves just moving up and down and just splashing. And they told us that we could move around on the boat. And then they told us that we could go in front, at the front of the boat. Kind of like how that couple in Titanic went up and did the little Titanic scene. It was kind of like that, except I went with all my friends. We're all hanging out in the front and just the waves are crashing. And it was just a very beautiful sight. So highly suggest going to do that. Don't be afraid. If you fall overboard, they say, hey, yell overboard. Somebody's going to come and save you. So no worries. These guys are really strong and they know what to do. Now, while we were out in the open ocean, what they did is they finally stopped the boat and then they anchored the boat down to the sea, onto the coral, one of the coral spots. And then we just got out, put on our snorkels, and we just swam around and saw really beautiful fish. All I did was I just swam around and just followed yellow fish, black fish, blue fish, and they just told everyone to make sure that they don't touch the coral because you can start damaging the environment, but you're too far away from the coral anyways to be able to touch it. So it was just a perfect experience all the way through. You could see right through the water. It was just super clean and beautiful. Now, one of the things that we actually encountered was a little bottle. It was just floating in the ocean, and these guys are very, aware of their surroundings. They want to make sure that the ocean is clean, so they pick up after anyone who leaves bottles and trash out in the ocean. And what was really cool about it was when they picked up this jug of trash, inside of it were these little tiny fish. And inside these little fish, or inside this little jug, they were called mahi-mahis. And these mahi-mahis are apparently really rare. They're really rare to see because they're out in the deep ocean. And because they're out in the deep ocean, they all are small when they're babies, and they all clutter together so they don't get eaten, and they want to survive. And so they go into compact areas. And some of them, in this case, went inside a trash. Inside the trash, and they floated up to shore, and we got to see these little rare mahi-mahis. Also along the way, we also were just, after seeing all the fish, about an hour and a half or two, it was time to go. And now while we were going back, they kind of just said, hey, you guys want to see something cool? I said, yeah, sure. And they casted out this line. They're like, well, this might work and this might not work out. Who knows, right? And they casted out this fishing line, and next thing you know, this big, huge fish caught hold of it. And they started reeling it in, and we're all going back to shore, but they're reeling this big fish in. And next thing you know, we're on the waves, and there's this big fish, and it's just flopping on the surface. And we're like, oh, wow, that's going to be big. And he's just reeling it in, and brings it onto the boat, and they start freaking out. And it was a big wahoo fish. I've never seen a wahoo fish before, but it's this huge predator fish that eats, all the other fish, I guess. And it was big. Now, if I were to stand up, it would go to my shoulders all the way down to my feet. And what was insane about it was the person who casted a line, that was his biggest fish he's ever caught, ever in his life. And he's been on Hawaii forever. So that made the experience even sweeter and even better. And what he did was he took the fish, brought it in, and it was flopping everywhere on the boat. And then next thing you know, he takes this huge club and just starts beating the head out of the fish. and the fish stops moving eventually. Lots of blood spraying everywhere, and everyone's like, and looking away and stuff. But at the end of it all, we made it to shore, and they gutted the fish, and they gave us slabs of meat off this fish for us to be able to take home and to eat with it. We pankoed it, we fried it, and we ate it later that night, and it tasted so good. Now, I know I said I'll have the food review later, but this is just, us cooking it. So when we cooked it, we fried it, like I said, and when we did, this fish is really tough. It's not like a flaky fish, like how I'm used to eating fish. It was a tough steak, but it was a texture of chicken, and it tasted like chicken. In a weird way, it really tasted like chicken. So if you ever catch a wahoo fish and you fry it up, it'll taste like chicken. It was a really good experience. And for that, because of the experience and going out snorkeling other places, I have seen more fish and sea turtles at freer snorkeling places. So as a snorkeling review, I would give this Ultimate Ocean Encounters Midday Snorkel a 4 out of 5 stars. However, because we had the rare occurrence of the wahoo fish being caught, I bumped up their score to a 4.6 stars out of 5. They did a perfect job. It was wonderful, and it was a great experience. Highly suggest that you guys should go. Now, the next activity that I suggest going to is the volcano. There's a volcano on the Big Island that erupted back in 2018, causing a lot of disturbance and some movement around on the grounds there. So when we went and talked to a park ranger, and he told us, hey, go out 2 miles past the observatory and you'll see some really cool stuff. He didn't really tell us what the cool stuff was, but he said go past 2 miles past the second observatory area. And so we decided to, and we started hiking out that way. And when we did, what was really interesting was we got to the second observatory and we couldn't really see anything, and it was really confusing. We thought the ranger said, hey, there's some really cool stuff out here, and we looked around and it looked like a nuclear bomb went off, and that was it. It was kind of disappointing. And we were about to just keep going, and all of a sudden in the middle of the road it says, do not trespass, you cannot pass through here, unauthorized access, things like that. And we were very confused. I mean, we were told to go further, and so we kind of stood in front of that sign, and we were about to turn around, and right when we were about to turn around, 2 experts came by and said, hey, we know the way, you guys want to come? And obviously, I guess they had some access or something, so we went with them. And it was dangerous a little bit. The roads were all jagged and broken, and it literally looked like a war zone had gone off there, and some explosion happened, and everything was gone. And talking with those experts, they let us know that there were homes and a museum and an observatory over on that side of the road past that gate. And it was completely desolate. It was gone. It too. But when we got to the very end, looking over, we saw what was really cool. It was just lava bubbling in this big, huge hole that the explosion at 2018 happened at. And it was this huge hole, and it was just a sheer drop from the road. If it was too dark and we didn't know to turn on our lights, we would have fallen off, and it would have been dangerous. But because of those experts, we were able to stop at a safe distance and see really cool stuff. And so it was just this bubbling lava and just rocks just everywhere, and it was really pretty, especially being there at night, being able to see it glow. So highly suggest going to the volcanoes, but make sure you take an expert with you to show you the ways so that you can avoid falling into ditches and holes that you might not be able to get out of. So that was a really good experience, and that was just really fun. So that experience in itself was really cool. But we also went and visited the lava tubes, which is just like a big cave on the island. And what was also very interesting was the plants and all the different trees and spices that they labeled on the trails when you go and hike these areas. However, there were some trails and some places that weren't labeled with their plants, or their plants had died or they were taken away. And so it was kind of weird seeing those signs, but nothing there. And so with that in mind, I gave the Volcano activity and hike review a 4.5 stars out of 5. Highly recommend doing it. It was a great experience. And just seeing the steam coming off of these holes in some areas was really cool too, because obviously that's where some of the hot rocks and hot areas, when water hits it, starts to steam up. So that was really cool to see as well. The next thing was the free snorkeling. I really liked going to this place called the Magic Sands and the Kahulaulu. There it is, Kahulaulu beach. Sorry if I mispronounced that. For all those who are from Hawaii, they're probably shaking their heads. But it was really fun. Now, one of the reasons why I say it was great is we got to see sea turtles just swimming out in the ocean. And obviously you shouldn't touch sea turtles because the sea turtles get harmed by people's oils on their skin. And so everyone got away, but we were able to get really close and record one swimming. And so that was really cool. Also at the other beach, the one that had a really hard time pronouncing, that one had a lot of corals and a lot of beautiful fish. I call them the dory fish, kind of off of, the movie. But there are a whole bunch of these just blue and yellow and just vibrant colored fish that were just swimming around. And it was really pretty. I really enjoyed going out there and just swimming and snorkeling. And so highly suggest making sure that you buy a snorkeling gear, and bringing it with you on your trip to Hawaii. With that activity, just because it was free, you didn't pay any money, and you got to see a lot more fish really up close. I gave this a 4.7 stars out of 5 because of just how awesome and how fun it was just doing it and not having to worry about, did I overspend or did I not, and just being able to see more tropical fish. Now, one of the things that I knock their score down just a little bit was just the day. It was just cloudy and rainy whenever I did it. So maybe when you do it on a beautiful day, it'll be just like a 5 out of 5. But for our time while we were there, I give it a 4.7. Now, another interesting adventure that we went to was another hike. It was not for the faint of heart, for certain. My wife says it wasn't too bad for her. However, I came out looking like Barney the dinosaur. I was sunburned off the wazoo. I put sunscreen on, and that sunscreen just melted away or disappeared somehow because I was purple. I was just plain out purple. I was burnt. It was a 6-mile hike altogether. It was 3 miles up and 3 miles down. And it was to this place called Green Sands. So there's green sand, only 4 places in the world, and one of the places is on the Big Island. And when we went there, it was quite confusing on how to get there. When you first get there, there's not really a set path. There's just a whole bunch of paths that lead to one path. It's kind of like, to explain this, it's kind of like how every road leads to Rome. This one was every path / weird route leads to the Green Sands. It was very confusing. It was a little nerve-wracking when you first hike that area because you just don't know if you're taking the right route or taking the right path. Then you had all these kind of crazy side business hustlers that were driving their pickup trucks and saying, if you want to go over to the Magic Sands without walking, you can hop in the back of my truck for $10. And that was a little sketchy, to be honest with you. But when we got there, it was pretty. Oh my goodness, was it pretty. It was, in the picture, it's not going to do that great of a justice, but it was green. It was a dark green. It's going to look a little black on the picture, but it was just beautiful. I mean, It was definitely worth the hike, now looking back, but at the time I was really complaining of just not feeling good because I was getting burnt. Yeah, but other than that, it was beautiful, and I'm glad that we went and did it. However, it wasn't as enjoyable as all the other activities. So if you're not a hiker, and you get sunburned really easy, I highly suggest maybe doing other activities. However, I enjoyed it, and so I'm going to give it a decent review, and I gave it a 3.8 stars out of 5 stars. However, my wife said that this is not fair review because she enjoyed it a lot, and she likes hiking sometimes. And so she said that she would give it a 4.2 stars out of 5. So, I mean, take it for what it's worth. If you enjoy hiking, you probably like it. If you don't, like me, where I just kind of like looking at things and say that's cool, then it's probably not going to be your thing. Now, what's also really interesting, and I'm not going to give a star review for this, but going to the black sands was really cool. You can see black sand. I mean, most of the time I've only seen white sand, but black sand was really cool, and it can get really fine and soft too. So highly suggest going to black sands. We didn't stay there that much, but it was pretty cool. It was just really cool scenery, and we just took pictures there. Yes, next is the Valley Shuttle ride at Waipio Valley. Waipio Valley. It is a very interesting place. It's a little different from all the other places that we went to on the Big Island. Big Island has, different sceneries and things, which I'll talk about later. But this place was really unique in where we could go to this valley. It was beautiful. It was jungly. And they had wild horses, like real wild horses. And you get into the shuttle, and this tour guide shows around all the different places in Waipio Valley. He gives you the legendary history of it, where Hawaiian kings used to live, and just like the folklore that's behind this area, and just the history in general. It was really unique. Highly suggest going with the shuttle because that's a really steep climb on the roads and stuff. So it was definitely worth spending. I think it was like $65 per person on the shuttle ride. But wow, it was really cool. The tour guide had these little alfalfa cubes that he fed to the horses, and he called the horses, and he would go woo, or something like that. It was a unique. He doesn't whistle like the cowboys. He just kind of like something like that. And the horses are trained basically from the wild to know that, hey, this guy has some of those alfalfa cubes. I want some alfalfa cubes. And they'll start coming over toward the van, and they'll stick their nose inside the van windows and things like that. And it was really cool. And then being able to see the taro farms, that was really cool too. And just being able to see the history, understanding the culture of that area, and just, it was really unique. Yeah, it's super beautiful. So it's one of the places that you should definitely go and try out and see for yourself. Very hard to explain in words, but because of just how great that experience was, seeing the wild horses and just enjoying just that valley and just the beauty of it, I gave it a 4.7 out of 5 stars. Definitely worth the money and time to go. Next on the list is the Manta-Ray's My Kona Adventures. Now, this was really cool. I don't know if you've ever seen manta rays before. I was a little nervous because I didn't want to be the guy who gets stabbed in the heart from a manta ray. But manta rays aren't the ones that stab people. It's the stingrays. So, note to self, don't be scared when signing up for this. It's a night snorkeling event. That was weird to say. It was a night snorkeling event. And what you do is you have this huge surfboard, and it just floats on the surface, and you just hang off of it, right? And you have this wetsuit on if you want to wear it. I didn't wear one. But, yeah, and they give you these ankle floaties. You don't have to be a good swimmer. You don't even have to be great at swimming at all for this one. And we had somebody who isn't all that like great at swimming, but she enjoyed it, and it was very fun and enjoyable. So don't worry about that. So when you're out on the surfboard, there's this light that shines down. It's like blue and purple, and it attracts all these plankton at night because the plankton are apparently attracted to light. And so these manta rays are just getting this huge buffet from these surfboards, but their eyes aren't great, right? And so what they do is apparently they have something that's similar to sharks that tell them where things are at, and they just barely miss you every single time. So they'll do this barrel roll, which I'll be showing, but they go under the surfboard and they come up and barrel roll and get as much plankton as possible in their mouths, and they're huge. Now, I kid you not, I'm not exaggerating here. The manta ray's mouth is probably about this big. Like, it's really big. And when we were looking at it, at first it doesn't look that big, but that manta ray that's on the video is 16 feet wide. That's how huge those manta rays can get. And what's really interesting about manta rays are they're very friendly creatures. They don't want to hurt anybody, and because they don't want to hurt anybody, they just kind of swim around and they don't mess with anyone. But the ones that do mess with the manta rays are the dolphins. Apparently, dolphins are little bullies in the ocean, and they go, I know they're cute and all, but apparently they like chasing down these manta rays and grabbing their tails and just spinning them around until their tail kind of snips off, I guess, and it becomes a blunt end. So if you watch that video, you could, or go back to it, you're going to notice that there's a blunt end on the manta ray, and that's because the dolphin grabbed a hold of that manta ray and just flung it around. So for those people who think that dolphins are just cute and nice and cuddly, they're bullies to all the other fish and all the other creatures in the ocean. Just remember that. All right. So, yeah. And that was a great adventure. However, they're not exactly on time. So we were maybe trying to get this activity going, and they're probably about 30 to 20 minutes late getting the activity started, and it was really late, so I was getting really tired. However, it was a great experience. I enjoyed it, so I'm giving them a 4.5 stars out of 5. Highly suggest doing it, and it was just a great adventure. So those are all the activities I have, and so we'll go on to the next section. All right, now I'll be reviewing the food restaurants and snack places and desserts and things like that. I'll be reviewing. So Nephi's, one of the most interesting restaurants in the Big Island. What can I say about it? It's good. It was good. It wasn't greasy. It wasn't harmful for my stomach. It was smoked pork. And it was really good. I wouldn't say it was like beyond amazing or anything, but it was good. So for Nephi's food, if you're like looking for something quick, easy to eat, and just, really overall just tasty, go for Nephi's. I'll give them a 4.1 stars. I didn't really have a lot of Nephi's. We just kind of mooched off of our friends who bought food from Nephi's, and so it could be better if you order more variety of things, but we had their smoked pork cube things, and it tasted great. So I'm giving them 4.1 star out of 5 stars, and it was really good. The next on the list is the gelato ice cream place. It was really good, and I believe it was called Gypsea Gelato ice cream. And what was really interesting is they have a whole bunch of different sizes. They have up to the mini, up to the large. For me, I'm a little lactose intolerant, so I went with a mini, and that was plenty. It tasted great. It was really good for their price. And they had a whole bunch of different flavors. It was unique flavors too. What was really interesting was I had the orange chocolate and the coconut, I think it was like coconut pina colada type mix of like an ice cream, and wow, was it really good. I really enjoyed the ice cream. It made me thirsty, because of eating ice cream and stuff, but it was really good. So I mean, and they had a whole bunch of varieties, and people who worked there were really nice, and so because of that, it was really good. I highly suggest going for it and trying it out. So yeah, go for it. I give them a 4.4 stars out of 5. Now, this next restaurant is a very pricey restaurant. It's called Papa Kona's. It's about $28 per plate, depending on what you get at Papacona's. It was very great. You go in there and it was live music, a lot of fun. It was a fun atmosphere. People were dancing. The waiters are pretty nice. And the chefs were nice. They were all dancing also while cooking your food. So that was really cool, just seeing them having a good time. And it's definitely a drinking place from the atmosphere that I got. So I'd assume their drinks were pretty good. I don't drink alcohol. So, yeah, it might not have been great for us, I guess, because when we got our food, it didn't taste that good. Sorry. I had the pulled pork. That was decent. I mean, I wouldn't say it was wow. I mean, it was something that I could definitely make on my own. And my wife got the fish tacos, and that thing, I wanted to throw up when I had the fish tacos. It was pretty bad. It was bad. And it was expensive. So, but however, I had the ube virgin colada. Pina colada mixed drink something. It doesn't have any alcohol in it. It tasted really good for like the first 2 minutes, and then it tasted awful once it got watered down. So yeah, other than the atmosphere, the food wasn't great, and the one non-alcoholic drink that I had wasn't that great either. But I don't want to dog on them. The atmosphere was great, and the live music and the scenery is really beautiful there too. So with that, we gave them a 2.0 stars out of 5. Yeah, sorry, Papaconas. I mean, you might have better food, but you only had like 14 options. So yeah, and our friends also agreed that this place wasn't that great, even with the price. That just made it even worse. So I would suggest not going there. However, they might have changed their ways and it might taste good. So if you're a risk taker, go for it. But I highly suggest not going. All right, the next on the list, it's a bakery shop. It's the Punalu'u Bake Shop. They sell the malasadas, which are apparently fried. They're like fried donuts. Not sure from where. I think they're from Portugal. But other YouTube people said that this place was great, so we made a trip out there, and I made a trip out there. I was really excited to go, and we went there, and when we got there, it was kind of disappointing. Not gonna lie. Yeah, the line was long, which is fine because people were there. But when we got to their selections, their best foods were already sold out, and this was maybe at like 1 p.m. And also, their guava-filled malasadas were not even being sold. It was really sad, and yeah, I was very disappointed. But we got the other stuff, and it tasted okay. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It didn't taste that great. I've been to better bakery places for some of those things. However, because of that experience of me just only going there once, I gave it a 3.5 stars out of 5. However, our friend group went back again. I was on a different island at that point. But they went back again, and they had the guava-filled malasadas, and they tried that out, and they said it was delicious. It was beyond delicious, and it was better than what they expected after seeing that YouTube video. And so when they had that, they said that was a really good spot, and I missed out. So because of that, I'm going to readjust their score on a group score and give them a 4.4 stars out of 5. However, they don't get a high score, as high of a score as other places, because you should have probably your best, stuff out. So when people go there for the first time or only once in their lifetime, that you can actually offer them the best food, right? But they didn't have it when I went. So maybe I'll go next time and try it out and readjust their score myself. But it's a 4.4 star right now out of 5. But yeah, just note to self, if you do go, try to go there early so you can get the best malasadas. Next on the list is Chubbys. Chubbys is a really interesting place because it's like a fast food, not fast food. It's like I don't know how to explain it. It's a weird restaurant in a bowling alley. And they're one of the few places that are open very late at night. So everything closed around 8 p.m. when we were there. This might have been due to the unfortunate events that's going on in the world today. But we got there and they had really good food. I ordered the katsu pork, and they had the nice little tonkatsu sauce, and we ate it late at night, and it was a lot of food. I mean, it was a lot of food for the price that I got it for. I think I spent $15, I think is what it was for the amount of food that I had, and I had to split it up in 2 days. And that's how much food I had of katsu pork. Although it wasn't like great quality food, and it wasn't like, oh, like this is a fancy sit down restaurant or anything. It was really good, and it was open late, and it was very convenient. So with that, I gave them a 4.0 stars out of 5. I think that's one of the better like fast food / not fast food restaurants that I've ever been to. So, but I mean, it wasn't like, oh wow, like this was delicious, but it was pretty good, and it was something that I could make too, but like I'm lazy, so I didn't make anything like that. So because of their convenience and things, their score obviously is a little bit better than McDonald's or Wendy's, right? And it was really good. I really enjoyed their katsu pork and their rice. So yeah, take that and go ahead and do that if you're stuck, have nothing else to do at the middle of the night. Yep. All right. Now next on the list is Island Lava Java, which is a 4.7 stars out of 5. One of the higher rating restaurants. It was really good. It has an ocean view. It was beautiful. They have wonderful morning breakfast food, which was waffles with macadamia nuts. I haven't had too much of those nuts before in my life, but on waffles, it was delicious. Oh my goodness. It was mind-blowing how delicious this waffle was. And the coconut syrup that they poured, it was like coconut and like some sort of sugar mixed in with it, and it was a syrup. You poured it all over, and they had amazing strawberries and mangoes that went with the food. It was so good, and the price was pretty reasonable too. It wasn't really ridiculous. It wasn't expensive. It was just right. And so with that, it was really good. But the reason why I didn't give them a higher score was they kind of messed up on our order. They mixed up my wife's order with someone else's order, and they kind of mixed up prices here and there. We had to tell them. They were nice, and they changed it up. They changed it and made sure that we got the right stuff, or priced at the right things that we got. But it wasn't exactly what my wife ordered. When she ordered it, she ordered, more stuff, but she didn't get it. But I ordered what I got. And they gave me everything that I ordered. So it was really good. It was delicious. However, you might have to make sure that, when you get your food, that's the actual food that you ordered. But in general, it was great. So yeah, 4.7 out of 5. I'll give an honorable mention here right before I give the best restaurant on the Big Island. But yes, poke. If you haven't had poke, they're basically cubed fish, raw fish. They're delicious. So whatever you see, poke bowls or whatever, and you want to try it out, if you love raw fish, if you love sushi, try it out. It was delicious. It was the most fattiest fish meats that you'll have, marinated in something that's really delicious. Highly suggest going for it. So yeah, poke was really good. So highly suggest doing it. The best restaurant that I ate at the Big Island was On the Rocks. Now, On the Rocks was very delicious. It was so good. I mean, wow. You couldn't ask for a better restaurant. Live music, live dancers, great waiter, super nice. They were fast on getting your food. They had great appetizers. They had an ocean view, and the sun was going down at the same time. You couldn't ask for a better scenery, better look. And then when they gave you the food, it was delicious. It wasn't like Papacona's where the scenery was nice, but the food was not great. This was the exact opposite. It was a little pricey, but was it worth it? Yeah, it was definitely worth it. The singer was singing "Stand By Me" right when the sun was going down, and right when the song ended, that's when the sun came all the way down through the ocean. So that was perfect timing. The fish that I had was swordfish. It was so good. I've never had swordfish before. I've had other fishes before, but not swordfish. And wow, it was strong. It was tough, but it wasn't like the wahoo fish that we cooked previously. It was like a steaky texture. It was really steaky. And I had it in a burger form, and it was really good. And I had this drink, and this drink was really good. It was some slushy lava something mango. It was like some slushy drink that, of course, is non-alcoholic. And it tasted really good. And my wife had like this pulled pork guava sauced sandwich, and that was really good. And everybody else had different foods, and they all loved it. In general, it was so good. I highly recommend going there. If you have to save money, and do everything that you can to go, it was really good. So for that reason, I give this a 4.9 out of 5 stars. Now the reason why it's not perfect is because it is pricey. It wasn't something that you'd be willing to just give your money to probably. I think each plate costed around $28, I think. And so, but it was definitely worth it. Highly suggest doing it, and trying it out for yourself. On the rocks, go for it. It was really good. All right. Not last but not least, it is the scenery. What is it like being in the Big Island? Well, the Big Island is very unique in its own right. There's deserty spots where it's deserty, just near like the green sands. However, there's also like desolate spots where it looks like a nuclear bomb went off, and everything got wiped out and burnt, and everything's smoking or steaming near the volcanoes, right? And then there's these jungly places that look beautiful. It's you got like all the different, I guess, climates and atmosphere. I mean, like climate and sceneries, that it was super unique. And then you have the ocean, and that's even better. So what can you expect when going to the Big Island? Expect a lot of space, a lot less people than the other islands, which was really nice. You could actually like kind of relax on the Big Island. It wasn't a stressful go here and go there. It was really like you could really relax and enjoy the scenery and just the space, and you could actually feel like people were distance away from you, and it was really nice to be able to just go there and relax and just look at the sunset, seeing all the different activities and fish, and yeah, it just expect everything honestly from the scenery. Yeah, it was just really beautiful. So yeah, visit all those different places, because it's interesting how dynamic the island is and the change of their scenery. So tips and tricks to make your stay at the Big Island a really good stay. Yeah, it's interesting. I highly suggest going with a good bunch of friends. Why? It makes everything a lot cheaper. You get to split some costs, gas cost, rental costs, Airbnb costs, Groupons. You could do Groupons with those, and but having your friends alongside with you and just being able to talk with anyone, amongst your friends, and just having a good time was amazing. And wow, like I didn't think it was going to be that fun, but it was really fun. I highly suggest going with friends. And next, the next thing is rent a van. if you go with a big group, and try to get it on a company discount. Yeah, and it'll make that trip a lot more cheaper, putting a lot less stress on your budget. That's important. Also, next, another tip is Airbnb it. We had an Airbnb place that was next to the ocean. It was great. It was fantastic. You can unwind. You didn't have to be near people. And it was big. It was nice for the price that we had it for. It was relatively a really good price. And so, highly suggest doing it. Go over and just Airbnb it next to an ocean place. Don't try to get a resort where there's a whole bunch of kids crying or, other people that you might not like a lot being around in those areas. I was able to really unwind from all the activity that I had throughout the day and just relax when we got back to the Airbnb place. So without having that commotion and being crowded feeling, it was really nice. And then next tip and trick is bring your own gear, snorkeling gear, beach towels. If you try to buy all those things on the island, it's quite expensive, or it's a little bit more expensive. It's not ridiculously expensive, but I mean, they're going to charge you more, right? Because you weren't prepared. So go for it. Bring your snorkeling gear. It's really good. Don't be afraid of the water. I mean, if you're not a good swimmer, bring your floaty devices and things, but make sure that you go with people who can swim and they can help you out. But it was really fun. So with all that being said and everything being included, here's the final star rating of the Big Island of Hawaii trip. Drumroll. I gave the Big Island of Hawaii a trip, being there and enjoying everything and seeing all the fish and doing all the activities. I gave it a 4.7 out of 5 stars. It's really high, ranks really high on the list. It was amazing. I really enjoyed it. And I highly suggest that you go to the Big Island of Hawaii because it's a lot less crowded there. You get to see all the dynamic scenery, all the different color fish, and there's a lot of things to do there. So if you're on a budget, it's a great place to go on a budget where you can unwind and relax and visit Hawaii. Yeah, so enjoy it. Aloha, mahalo. Thanks for watching. Yeah!